Hey everyone, welcome back to the Trendcrusher podcast. I'm Peter K. Fuck, it's been like 6 months or more since I said that line, and this is the first episode going up of the podcast in over 6 months, first of 2026. A couple of months ago, I had plans of getting the podcast back. I had a whole explanation and everything ready, whole release plan, and then, yeah, like fucks you up in 6 different ways. But I'm still standing here. So, enough about whining and talking about how fucked up things have been. This is a special episode, that's why I'm getting it out. I got Andy LaRocque of Lex Legion. They have a new album out right now, which is self titled. I had a great chat with Andy LaRocque before the album released. Here it is. Hi, Andy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nice being here.
So, I'm gonna preface this, right? If you can, and since this is largely going to be audio, if you can sense a kind of excitement in my voice, well, hey, I'm fucking speaking to Andy LaRocque, someone who I've probably listened to I don't know, decades through all your various work. And I think if I try to do an introduction, it'll do no justice. Just considering the wide discography that you've been kind of part of, it's truly an honor to speak to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So today, I'm really glad that I managed to get an early listen to your upcoming band, or I can't believe it. Do you care about if it's called upcoming, new, super group? There's so many different ways to put Lex Legion, right?
Yeah. I guess new band, new group. Yeah, definitely. That's a good thing. Yeah. That's what you can call it.
I had a chance to listen to the new album, and I must say, right, the self-titled album, it takes you back through so many kind of feelings, but enough about me. What was it like for you putting together the entire album? I mean, considering it's a kind of fresh start for a lot of you.
Yeah. Um, it's amazing to be back with we're four old friends, that played together for several years and that was just great fun to be back and write music together. That's absolutely awesome. To feel the chemistry back again um, between us, and the way we write songs is so easily done in a way because we totally understand each other. We're on the same level, when it comes to understand the music that we like, and we have the same influences. And as you can hear, there are a lot of 80s influences in the music, of course, but that's what we're born and raised with when we were young, and that's what we listened to: late 70s music and early 80s. And that's how we play music, that's how we write music. So we had great fun when we put this together. But in the very beginning, it wasn't even intentional that we were going to get back together, the four of us. Because in the beginning, and if I go straight back to the very beginning, it was like 2008 when me and Pete sat here in the studio and we just did some riffs and some songs to see where that could lead. And then it took several years until Pete picked up everything again during the COVID pandemic. And he played a few of those songs for Mickey D. And Mickey thought, hey, this is really good. Let's call Andy and see if he's interested to join this. That would be great, if we can go together. And maybe we should ask Hal Patino too, the bass player. So they called me, and I just said, sure, I'm interested because I know that me and Pete work very well together. I didn't even hear his new songs, but I mean, I know that we can write good music together. So good. And this was like uh, 2021, I believe. So, and then after that, we just started to find a direction for the songwriting and the music style.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, you guys have been working on this for so long, but I think what's there is there's like this core kind of sonic identity, right? And again, because again of your vast discography and the rest of the members also, right? Like, uh, there is a certain expectation, but there's also something I think, like when you all said, right? Like when I read the description that, this is the kind of music you listen to the 80s, you just turn your eyes off, put on your headphones, and you're kind of transported back to then, right? And that's what all of y'all kind of bring. So it's great to kind of hear that. But tell me about like that entire journey, because the from the time you got on board to when it is now, and we're talking still like a few weeks away from the release. What's that journey been like? I mean, just to ensure that, now that we're all kind of hearing the buzz about Lex Legion, but it's been under the wraps for quite some time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But we slowly, tried to find the music direction because we didn't really want to copy something we did before, or even we didn't want to have a continuation of something we did before. Even though, of course, the four of us going together, it will be a certain style of music. But if the easy way out would probably be to just make a continuation of them or conspiracy kind of music wise, you know what I mean? But we didn't want to do that because we want this to be something special and unique. So uh, in the very beginning, we wrote a few songs to find the musical direction, and it took actually many years until we had the songs we have now, and we have some spare songs for this too. And we're already working on ideas for the second album, which is great. But the journey of this to me started back in two, 2021 during the pandemic when Pete first played a couple of riffs for me and songs, and then we start working here in the studio, putting things together. And in the beginning, it was kind of slow because everyone was busy with everything, even though it was the pandemic and everything. Everyone was just busy doing nothing, I believe. But after we had a couple of songs, we thought, hey, this is starting to be something, start sound really good, and we have the right direction of things. So we need a vocalist. And this was late, I would say 2022, something like that. So we started talking about different options. And it took us maybe 6 months or something. And then I came up with, hey, I used to work with a guy, Nils. We don't really have that much contact anymore, but sometimes once in a while he just pops up and he's a great guy. So I sent a few links to Mickey and Pete of him while he was in God, Pagan's Mind, the
Yeah,
Norwegian
big.
band, Pagan's Mind. And Mickey and Pete just thought, hey, this is the guy. He's so good. We need to have him in the band. And this was very early 2023. And then we met in Gothenburg, the three of us, or the four of us actually, Nils, me, Pete, and Mickey. And we talked a little bit and talked about direction and everything. And at that time, Nils had already sent like two songs with his vocals for demo, and we thought it was just amazing. So that was the style we wanted, and we told Nils that don't try to copy anything else, just try to be yourself as much as possible. Of course, we want you to be you. We don't want this to be a clone or a copy of anything. So everything really started to take shape in early 2023, and then we sent out a few songs to some record labels, and there was one record label that just they thought this was amazing, so they wanted to make a deal with us, with this. So that's pretty much it. And very late 2025, everything was finished with the songs, and there is actually one song on the album that originates from the 2008 sessions, and that's the very last song on the album. Just just cool to know, maybe.
Wow, that's
Everything else is like newly written during the pandemic, pretty much.
But while you were kind of describing this thing, right, to me it seemed like so old school, right, where you'll actually met in person in Gothenburg and stuff like that. Like considering just all of you and your schedules and stuff. I mean, but again, it's not the same kind of putting together or sharing stuff. Uh, I don't know, on file sharing or WhatsApp and things like that, right? Like that entire essence goes.
Yeah, we do that too, but I would say, people ask me about that. How do you do it in the studio and stuff? But we actually meet, not all of us at the same time, but we actually meet and discuss things and write music in the studio. It's usually me and Pete who starts writing riffs and songs, putting it together, and then we have Mickey down to the studio, arranging or rearranging a few things, putting things in a different order and taking out things, adding things. He's really good at that. And once we have a basic structure of a song, and we three of us just okay, this is it. Then we send it off to Nils, which has his own home studio, and he lives like 6 hours away from us. So it's of course very convenient for him to record back home whenever he can. When in the middle of the night if needed. And the same with Hal Patino. He's got his own setup back home so he can record his bass too. So it's really convenient for them. But of course, um, when the time comes to do a tour or live performances, we will meet, of course, all of us, and just rehearse and practice. But we did a few photo shoots and some videos, so then of course we meet too. But it's really convenient to send files to each other, bounce it back and forth a little bit. It's much more efficient these days than it was back in the old days, in my opinion, with the new technology and all that.
Fair enough. I mean, you said something, but I'm gonna not probe further as yet on it. Uh, but what I wanted to talk about is, a lot of times, and like I mentioned at the start, right, considering all of you all, people would kind of expect a certain sound or expect something, right? Uh, what do you think for someone who's going to listen to Lex Legion, they would be kind of surprised to know about the album or the music itself?
It's really hard to say. I don't really know what people expect. Sometimes I've heard expectations that, oh, could this be like a continuation of some King Diamond stuff because these guys were, played together back in the 80s and stuff. But when they hear the album, it's like, no, it's not. It's something different, which is good. That makes me happy because we don't want to do a continuation. As I said earlier, we want this to be something unique and special. But people have a lot of different expectations, I believe. But everyone so far has been really positive, positive reactions of this. It's like, wow, this was a surprise. It's even better than I thought. And that reaction is what we want. So I'm really happy for that. And it seems like it fills out some kind of gap in the music industry right now. And the timing wasn't really intentional at all. It just happened. We didn't plan to release it now. It's just that at the end of last year, all the songs were finished and we sent it off to the record label and they said, okay, here we have a release plan. So it wasn't really planned to be released in the spring or summer 2026. We were just finished with the songs and it just happened. And it seems to be right in time too for this kind of music.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because like, and I'm sure you've also probably noticed it with your production and stuff like that. Like there was that resurgence of like 80s sounding bands and stuff like that. Like in certain parts of actually America, there is like the new wave of traditional heavy metal and stuff like that, right? But you've got two singles out, and I think this is the point where we can play a single. So, from the two singles that you've got right now, "Sleep Eternally" or "Gypsy Tears," which one do you think is a great introduction to the band and your sound? Uh, do you feel for those who
I
haven't
would
heard it?
think, yeah, I would think both actually. But when we talked about it with the record label, because they had a few suggestions, and they suggested to first release Sleep Eternally, which we thought, okay, cool, that's great, because that scream in the very beginning is so 80s metal. And the second one too, Gypsy Tears, is also a very good song. But I think the order they released it is really good too. So I would say listen to Sleep Eternally first.
If you fall out of time, the messenger waits. See the light that's shining in your eyes. Don't feel it's the end. They always will pretend. Life is just a mirror of your dreams.
And that was Sleep Eternally by Lex Legion. And I've got Andy from the band with me. Now, I had to stop myself from asking you this earlier, but you talked about, meeting in person and touring. And something that really, kind of stood out for me in the press release was the fact that y'all are actually going to be planning on touring next year. Uh, Tell me about that. I mean, because that would be really exciting, and I'm sure a lot of fans are looking forward to that. What can you share
Yeah,
so far?
we don't really have any plans as we speak now, But as soon as the album is released, which is 12th of June, we will start planning for the future. And when the time comes, we will be ready to tour. So hopefully that will be next year. So we'll just see what the promoters say about it, and we'll try to make something, so you will see us live when the time is right. That's all I
Aw-
can say for now.
Awesome. So that's something that everyone should keep an eye out for. Uh, Switching gears a bit, right? And I touched a bit about your production. Uh, Considering, the kind of music you work on and bands, does it kind of leave time for you to kind of discover new bands? Or I'm sure you get like a lot of submissions. Is there any band or two that kind of stood out for you recently and you'd like to talk about?
Uh, oh, I just worked with a band called Rune Magic, a Swedish band, kind of doomish, very atmospheric. They're signed on Hammerheart Records. Great band, and that's one of the last things I was working with. And before that, or actually a while before that, Arch Enemy was in the studio doing a few things here, and one of the songs were released. To the Last Breath, I think the name of the single was. So, what else? I've been working with so many bands. Hammerfall's been here a long time ago. I've been working with At the Gates, not the last album, but the one before that. Uh, so many bands coming in and out all the time, it's even hard to remember.
So I must ask you then, I mean, considering that like music is like central to your life, how do you kind of detune or just kind of relax or get out of it? Or is it just more music?
No, um, usually just silence is the best, medicine. But if you want something in the very background that you don't really think about just being there, I can put on something from YouTube or Spotify, just some kind of elevator music, if you know what I mean. Something that just goes in the background, and not even a vocalist or lyrics on, just instrumental stuff, like moody stuff in the background, like atmosphere kind of music, ambient, ambient music, or just silent. And working in the studio as I do, like 5 or 6 days a week, and sometimes very long days, and sometimes even weekends, you really need to recharge your batteries with silence or something completely different, when it comes to music. That's the best way. And then again, I'm not actively searching for new bands because all the bands that comes here in the studio, they kind of show me new bands that I should take a listen to, which is great. So I kind of follow that. Um, Whenever a band that's in the studio tip me about something, I check it out and see if I like it.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, like, and the fact that just you kind of name dropped the bands that we'd probably be hearing music from in the coming months or years is great. So you get like an early preview to a lot of what's going to be coming out soon. And of course, not only that, just get to put your mark on it. Uh, Before I kind of wrap up, right, and just being mindful of time, uh, what's next for you? I mean, for Lex Legion and you personally, what's stuff that people should kind of look forward to?
Well, the album's going to be released. The full album's going to be released 12th of June. And so right now we're just sitting back and waiting to see the response from the listeners and all our fans around the world. And the response from the first two singles so far has been absolutely amazing. Everyone is like totally, totally super happy with what they heard so far. And most of the journalists have heard the full album and they say it's absolutely amazing too. So I'm just curious what the listeners and the fans say about it too. That would be great if they like it, of course.
Awesome. So before I let you go, as mandatory, any final words for everyone who's listened to the podcast so far?
Yes, I really hope that you guys will see us on tour whenever the time is right. It's impossible to say right now, but we will be out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy, for your time. Really appreciate it. And I wish you all the
Thank you
best.
very much. Thank you very much. Take it easy. Okay, thank you. Bye.
And that was Andy LaRocque of Lex Legion. Do check out their album. It's out right now via Monarch Heavy. Since the recording of this episode, the band have announced their debut show on the 28th of November. Do check out their details on their website, lexlegionofficial.com. Before I sign off, as always, hit subscribe, follow on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. Lots more coming up soon. Stay tuned. Cheers.